Dr. David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have. Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation alters his body chemistry. And now when David Banner grows, a startling metamorphosis occurs.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais. Sean Keenan is still absent this week, but I am joined, of course, by Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and beware when I let my inner troll emerge.
Well, you all got to rub the little jewel on the troll belly, and that's when they go attack you. I think that's how it works.
Yeah,
I don't
something
know.
like that.
Well, we've got Sean's been out for a while, and and we had Matt last week, and it feels a little bit weird sometimes not having a third seat filled and everything. So, we scoured the internet for lots of people, smart people, intelligent people, and well, we got Chris Elvins here today, the Canadian Conjurer himself. Chris, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Luckily all those smart and, talented people weren't available, so I was able to slide right in here.
You just pick up what you can when you can, and You're thankful for it. That's all that counts, man. So, Chris, tell people a little bit about who you are, man.
I know Bruce fairly well. I'm the co-host of Chubby Wizard Podcast, and I've been on a few other of I've been on
Heroes and Villains.
Heroes and Villains. I've been to I've
like,
masqueraded a few times
what's your other silliness called?
And I as I said before, I was sleeping on the couch, and I just
now
woke
he's
up
lying
and
on the
rolled
floor.
Now I'm a little bit. I'm Canadian. I moved to the States, and I like comics and comic books and comic book movies and really bad movies.
And for the record, he's a big fan of the David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury.
Oh, so good.
You monsters.
So good. And actually, I'm probably a bigger fan, though, of the Doctor Strange from 1977, because that's maybe one of the best movies of all time.
Was that last summer when you guys were bunking with us for like a week while you were getting renovations at your house?
Yeah.
So we sat in my office and had a nice double feature night where we watched the David Hasselhoff and the Peter Hooten works of excellence.
And back.
That did not end in mutual suicide or something?
No.
Miraculously, next day he said his house was fixed and he moved out.
Yeah, somehow amazingly the contractors got it all done. So, but no, it actually just hours of enjoyment is what it was.
It was hours of something. I'm sure hours of something.
It was I know a good hour of it was Peter Hooten just staring off into space with this strange look on his face. That was at least 1 hour of that time.
I still think there was a slow leak or something in that place where it was just really dumbing everybody out while they're you just see that kind of just drifting off into space. Like, hey Peter, what's that now? I'm sorry, I'm in a movie. Look at that. That's a camera and everything. Oh, act. I'll do that. Good grief. I hate that movie. That's what it is. It's so awful, but but we decided, hey man, we need to find something awful to do on this week's show because hey, Chris deserves some punishment just like anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
So this week, as you probably put together by the intro music there, we're going to be talking The Incredible Hulk, specifically The Incredible Hulk Returns from 1988. It was another made-for-TV movie that tried to, slide in another character that, everyone is going to, know this character, and it's going to be there for years and years, just like they did with Daredevil.
I'm pretty sure it got a theatrical release somewhere in Scandinavia.
Oh, I'm sure it did. That much is true.
On top of the mountain in a cave.
it's because, man, Thor is joining the Hulk here. Not this Ragnarok crap that you're going to see next year. Whatever with all of that. This is where it's at, my friends.
I think this might be the first live-action Thor. It took us until 1988 to get there, but I think this is it.
I think I heard
it's a great version of him. You know what? I'm very happy that I was brought on board to talk my favorite character. Which Thor is my favorite character. So I was so excited when I got the invite. Like, hey, guess what movie we're going to talk about? You want to come on? I thought, oh, this is perfect because This is not Thor.
I have
think
no
it's a fun
idea
film.
what you're talking about. Maybe we'll talk about it in the review coming up and everything. So we got a lot of stuff, guys. I want to get into this real quick because we always at the top of the show got to take the people that take the time out of their blessed days to go down there to the iTunes, drop us a 5-star review, aka Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And we want to read one of those right now. It is entitled "Great Show, 5 stars." From I'm Qual 89. I apostrophe M QUALL 89. There you go. And it reads as follows: I found this show after listening to Preacher Podcast and have already burned burnt through your back catalog. That is impressive. Because
That's a lot of episodes, man. That's
a lot of
like
stuff,
over 100
dude.
hours of listening.
Especially just from just starting Preacher. That's a lot, dude.
It's 10 hours a week of HMP.
That's thank you, man. Holy cow. This it almost took a turn right here, Brucey. Although your dislike of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should warrant you a 3-star review at best. Holy cow, does that sound familiar to us? You more than make up for it with your witty banter and knowledge of all things Stallone. Keep up the good work, fellas. And then there's a little bit of note for me. P.S. Adam, for the love of God, we get it. IMDb is correct in every day they say and or do.
I think he had a typo there.
Yeah, it's everything they say or do. Clearly, I'm not doing it enough or correctly enough. So guess what, there, buddy boy? It's still going on until you proper learn. Also, Bruce, I'm eagerly waiting the first issue of Constantine to hit
I've got
the
to get it
shelves.
out there quickly before he gets through puberty.
Because after that,
Then he's just constant man.
Constant Man, and then Constantine, Constant Man, Constant Granddad. Nah, it's not. It's too long. Got to figure something out. I don't know. But so, guys, so thank you. Drop on down to the iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, aka Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And we'd really appreciate that, guys. It just helps us get out to more people. And Bruce, we got to talk about it super quick, buddy.
Yes, man. We lost a legend, didn't we?
We did. We lost a guy. Well, I was really going to say we made it up onto the iTunes top 150 television internet things for a hot minute, but sure, we'll talk about the other thing too.
You gotta have priorities.
But we did do that. Guys, Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2, died this past weekend here at the ripe old age of, 82?
Sounds about
So
right.
he was getting up there in age, man. And for a little person, that's a big deal because they tend not to live, super long into, later years in life and stuff. Some do.
Yeah, you know what? The sample size is so small that I'm not sure I have good information.
You're just the worst person ever. That is the most dad joke I think there's ever been on this podcast in these 100-some-odd episodes.
At least I didn't make a joke about dog ears.
That is the most dad thing you have ever said on this show, and I love it. God, it's awful. All right, and I wrote a nice little eulogy here, USOP, and that's what we're going to... Good job, guy. All right.
Well, to quote the man himself, beep, boop, 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 beep, boop.
All right. Okay. It's not going to be the last time, but I have a prepared statement. I've never met Kenny Baker face to face, but I did have a Kenny Baker encounter once. The year was 2005. My brother and our friends Brian Joyner and Robert Nunnery and I, we all drove all the way to Indiana to the Star Wars Celebration 3, right? So while leaving the convention hall one evening, we were headed towards the car to go back to the hotel for the night. While crossing the street, we look over, and there he is, Kenny Baker. Now, he's hard to miss, which is funny considering his height, but you wouldn't think that, but it's absolutely true. You just can't not see the guy. Now, as we crossed the street, and Mr. Baker had just gone, out of sight, Brian, with a wild look of interested manner and just asking us aloud, guys, how does Kenny Baker sign things?
I got to hear this.
Now, I'm sure as was your reaction, we laughed our butts off. But then we retorted, he has hands, Brian. They're small, but they are hands. I mean, what do you think he signs with? His foot or something? He has hands. And his response was, yeah, no, but I mean, like, how's he do it? It's like, how do you write with your hands, dummy? Look, I just...
Sharpie. The answer's always Sharpie.
It's always Sharpie. And then he's like, look, and that was it, man. He just trailed off. He never really gave us a satisfactory answer on that. So, while we would go to Star Wars celebrations like 3 or 4 more times after that, there's a lot of funny stuff that happened on those trips, but one of those things could not have happened without the great Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker, rest in peace, my friend. And as an addendum, my friend Robert would later find out when Kenny Baker did sign his big Star Wars poster, which had like a ton of other autographs on and everything, he almost crumpled the poster to death there by like trying to switch it around, and all because of his little hands. It's the honest to God truth.
But, poor guy.
It was, but all accounts,
he'll definitely be missed. Man.
But here's the
definitely
thing:
be missed.
you'd see him walking around that stuff. He just always had a smile on his face. He loved being who he was and doing what he did, man. And I think he was one of those people that is in these pop culture things that really go, hey, this may be the only thing like people like truly know before, even though I've done tons of things. This may be the only thing, but that gives them so much joy, and it gives him so much joy seeing the joy that it gives other people. And I think that was really what was good about it. So.
Yep, man, and the guy's just so well known for somebody who never showed his face on camera.
Exactly.
And just got to really tip your hat to the guy for that. And he always, by all accounts, I never met him. I was never anywhere where he was, but by all accounts, he actually was a great person with the fans too. So good for you, Kenny Baker.
Absolutely. So with that, everybody, let's jump in to this week's movie. Here is the trailer for Incredible Hulk Returns. I think it has like 4 different titles, but that's one we're going to go with.
When David Banner met Maggie Shaw, it was the love they'd both been looking for. But she didn't know his secret. She didn't know that his danger would become her danger. Their life together was threatened. David Banner had been pushed too far.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
He's mean and green, and after 6 years, the Hulk will face his greatest challenge ever, because this time he's fighting for love. Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno are the Incredible Hulk. It's the Incredible Hulk Returns.
All right, that was the television trailer for the Incredible Hulk Returns.
I just want to say this came out in 1988, and that trailer makes it sound like it came out in 1978. Man,
no, you're not wrong.
That was amazing. But what do you expect? This is a Roger Corman joint.
Mm-hmm. So here's the IMDb plot line. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. It's been 2 years since the Hulk has surfaced, and Dr. David Bruce Banner is on the verge of curing himself of the Hulk. A device he helped create, the gamma transponder, will rid him of his own gamma radiation, among other usage. Enter Don Blake, a former colleague of Banner's, who is now in possession of a mystic hammer that can summon Thor, an ancient Viking warrior. The gamma transponder is nearly stolen, and Banner's girlfriend is kidnapped. Banner must abandon the hope of being cured and rely on the Hulk and Thor to save the day. This is starring Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno, and most other people you probably don't really know.
Eric Kramer, man.
The dad from Good Luck Charlie.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Eric Kramer as Thor himself.
So let's get down to it because, guys, from what I've seen from this thing, I don't know if this is what we'll call the most accurate of Thor things, because this was supposed to be kind of a pilot like we saw for Doctor Strange, but like as they often did in the kind of late 80s and stuff, they said, hey, you're going to guest star on this one. That's basically going to be a movie, and that's going to be the pilot for you. Then you're going to go off into your own glorious series, just like the Incredible Hulk here. And
in the business, they call that a backdoor pilot.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these back doors didn't open for people.
That is true, man.
Didn't open for our friend Thor, and that may be because they, I don't know, screwed up the origin or something. I don't know.
Everything.
Bruce?
It was 100% accurate.
Bruce, how does this relate back to the old comics, my friend? What do you got for us this week?
Well, Thor first showed up in Journey into Mystery number 83 in 1962, merely a few months after the publication of The Incredible Hulk number 1. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, you can't believe the Hulk because he's clearly not credible. Now, Odin had decided that Thor was getting a little too big for his boxer briefs, and yes, in my mental image of Thor, he wears boxer briefs, probably gray ones. Anyway, in order to humble Thor, Odin erases his memory and puts him in the body of a physically challenged American medical student named Donald Blake. And I'm pretty sure that plot point was ripped off directly from the pages of Beowulf, though I can't be certain because I've never read Beowulf. Anyway, after graduating from medical school, Blake does what we all do to celebrate. And despite his mobility issues, he goes on a camping trip in a remote frozen part of Norway. And for full disclosure, I went to Finland. Anyway, while he's camping, aliens arrive, and these aliens scare Dr. Blake, and he does what any sensible physician would do in that situation and hides in a cave. Now, as I've already pointed out, Dr. Blake has some mobility issues, so inside the cave, he picks up a walking stick to help him get around. But alas, true believers, this wasn't merely any walking stick. It was Mjolnir, the mighty hammer of Thor, merely disguised as a walking stick. So Blake strikes the stick against a rock and transforms into the mighty god of thunder. After defeating the aliens, Thor shares a double life with his alter ego, treating the ill patients in a private practice with a nurse and eventual love interest, Jane Foster, and defending humanity from evil. When asked about the inspiration for Thor, Stan Lee had this to say: "How do you make someone stronger than the strongest person? It finally came to me. Don't make him human. Make him a god." I decided readers were already pretty familiar with the Greek and Roman gods. It might be fun to delve into the old Norse legends. Besides, I pictured Norse gods looking like Vikings of old with the flowing beards, horned helmets, and battle clubs. Journey into Mystery needed a shot in the arm, so I picked Thor to headline the book. After writing an outline depicting the story and the characters I had in mind, I asked my brother Larry to write the script because I didn't have the time. And it was only natural for me to assign the penciling to Jack Kirby. Well, of course, Jack Kirby remembers it just a little bit differently, guys. Now, here's what Kirby said. I did a version of Thor for DC in the 50s before I did him for Marvel. I created Thor at Marvel because I was forever enamored of legends, which is why I knew about Balder, Heimdall, and Odin. I tried to update Thor and put him into a superhero costume, but he was still Thor. Now, if you have two extreme examples of extreme manliness introduced into the comics a few months apart, obviously you have to make them fight. If you don't, people will start asking for their money back. So the first battle between Hulk and Thor occurred, oddly enough, in the form of a flashback. In Journey into Mystery number 112, the general populace was seemingly arguing amongst each other over who would win in a fight between Thor and the Hulk while they were all standing on the street. One side of the street were holding masks of Thor, and the other side of the street were holding masks of Hulk, and my goodness, street gangs were weird in the 60s. Anyway, Thor sat everybody down for a little chat, and he gave a first-hand account of what happened when he went toe-to-toe with Bruce Banner's angrier side. As the fight between Thor and Hulk began in this retelling, Thor talked with his dad, Odin, and asked if he could arrange it so that Thor couldn't use his hammer Mjolnir for the first 5 minutes so that he could create an even playing field for the Hulk during the fight. Personally, I would have asked for 2 hammers and maybe a cruise missile, but then again, I'm not a superpowered Viking god. Now, while Thor isn't exactly on the same level as the Hulk in terms of brute strength, he's pretty close, and considering that he's had like thousands of years to practice fighting, he's no pushover. So the fight goes back and forth between the two, and they're eventually separated without a winner being clearly chosen. Hulk and Thor continue to butt heads over the years, nearly always ending conveniently without a clear winner, except perhaps in the pages of Fear itself, where Thor successfully knocks Hulk through space, which counts as a win in my book. It has been revealed that Hulk will be part of the upcoming movie, Thor Ragnarok, which has me giddy, because maybe this MCU movie may simply be a modern retelling of the 1988 classic, The Incredible Hulk Returns. Are you guys as excited as I am?
No. If this is... Listen, we get accused... Well, you know, we assume people are accusing us. Because we tend to like these Marvel Studios movies more than the other ones. Man, oh man, if that were the case here, nobody is going to ever accuse us of going, boy, you just kissing Marvel's butt all the time. As long as it's Marvel, it's good. I don't know if that's the case in here. Now, have you guys ever seen this movie before?
I have, but man, it's been a couple years.
Same here.
Okay, because 1988, Adam was all of 4. No, wait, 7. I was 7. So not old enough to really figure out what the heck's going on here, and I don't really know from how good this is because man,
I was devouring TV hand over fist in 1988, and I still missed this first run. I didn't see it until I saw it on Hulu a couple of years ago, and thank goodness it's still there.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I didn't see. What was I? I guess it would have been 9 or something, 10, something like that. When it came out, I didn't see it then, but that's because in Canada, we were busy watching hockey, so we didn't have any time for that. But I saw it a few years ago. I think I was searching for something about Thor, and it came up, and I'm pretty sure I watched it on like Daily Motion or something like that.
Oh yeah, one of those streaming services.
Yeah, so I think that's where I saw it, and it was amazing.
And it's, by the way, kids, it's still up there. So if you want to, this thing is wildly gettable, very, very easy.
It's on Hulu still too.
Yeah, so I mean, there's many ways you can go about and waste your time. I mean, enjoy a movie. What were the words that came out of my mouth there? I don't know.
It's something about a Blu-ray 2-disc set.
It's something about how we need a 4K transfer, and that Adam won't be satisfied until that happens. No. So now I forget, where does this land in the pantheon of the Hulk movies? Is this because this is like
the
it's
first
later.
movie after the show? The show was canceled in 1982, man. So I was a big time fan of the Hulk when I was like 5 years old. And now when I go back and watch it, I don't know how any 5-year-old has an attention span that can handle the slow pace of this show. But I was a big time fan. So when it got canceled in 1982, I was heartbroken. But by the time 1988 rolled around, 6 years when you're a kid is like
forever.
It's like 70 years if you're Kenny Baker. It's a long time.
You just thought like as far as you're aware, like the world didn't even exist anymore at that point.
Yeah, I didn't think things from 1982 could exist again in 1988. But did I ever? I'm sorry, I may have already told this story, but did I ever tell you about the time I lost my pants at school?
No, but if you did, I don't remember it, and I want to hear it now, though.
Okay, so when I was in kindergarten, this is when The Incredible Hulk, starring Bill Bixby, was still on television on Friday nights, and it was still my favorite show. So my mom made me, she took an old pair of blue jeans, some purple blue jeans, or blue jeans, I guess, and she cut them up to look like Hulk pants, where, she cut them off right around my knee and had the shredded jeans going down around the thigh and everything, and even cut like the sides a little bit to look like my muscular abdomen had burst through the waistband of the jeans. And I decided to take those with me to kindergarten for show and tell one day. And I took those pants like in my backpack or satchel or whatever I had to school. And then I wore regular pants to school. But when it was time for show and tell, I decided that just showing wasn't enough. I needed to really show. So I changed into those Hulk pants, totally lost track of my really nice rustlers that my mom had probably spent a lot of money for. And probably they were like size 6 Huskies. But anyway, if anybody finds those, let me know. But so I came home on the school bus and got home and told my mom I lost my pants, and I was pretty legendary at that school for the next 4 years.
You hear about that kid who lost his rustlers because he put on these Hulk pants? What a jerk. I
also had the inflatable biceps that you could buy. There were these green biceps you could put on and inflate.
Oh, so you actually went home in Hulk pants?
I went home in Hulk pants. I rode the bus in Hulk pants.
Was the piano playing as you walked towards the school bus?
On the way home, I stopped at a clothesline, put a $10 bill on it, and took some new pants.
Oh my gosh! So I don't know how this thing starts. This movie is. I'll just say this thing's boring.
Well, I'll just give you a little bit more backstory, since, as you said, we may not have a whole lot of plot points to dwell on.
What?
But originally, as pretty much as soon as CBS canceled the Hulk, Bill Bixby went straight into reunion mode. And the first thing he did was started sending whatever the 1982 equivalent of emails are to the guy that
pigeons.
Yeah,
it's still telegrams back in old Hollywood days.
Western Union telegram. But he was sending messages to the guy that played Spider-Man in that really bad Spider-Man live action TV show. And he had things hammered out to make a live action Hulk Spider-Man show. And then the problem was Lou Ferrigno was off making that flawless Hercules movie that I'm sure everybody has seen before.
Oh.
So without Lou Ferrigno, then the whole thing fell apart. And then he kept working on it for a while. You know, Bill Bixby did. And then finally he got some interest. Lou Ferrigno came back. However he did it, he got some rights to Thor, which I think Marvel must have needed the money in '88, from what I understand. So it was easy to get those rights. He got Roger Corman to produce, but CBS wanted no part of it. So this was on NBC, which is not the channel that showed the Incredible Hulk television series.
And it shows.
Yeah, but I like the way that the whole thing starts off. There's this place called the Joshua Lambert Research Institute, and our hero, David Banner, has taken the very, very clever pseudonym of David Banyan.
It's the worst.
I just kept thinking
alias
Banya
I've ever seen.
from Seinfeld. Are you going to get the
Banya?
soap?
You were thinking Banya there?
That's gold, Jerry. Gold.
It's like he's in Gamma Research, and all he does is change like the last 3 letters of his name.
Like,
It's
I don't even
fantastic.
think he intended to change his name. I think that he filled a form out illegibly, and that's just what they put on his name tag.
I'm just
and he
like,
went with
Banya, fine. It's just like he got up to like the Ellis Island of things, and they just go like, no, you're Banya now. Goodbye.
Oh man, he should have at least changed his first name to Bruce, so it was Bruce Banyan.
I mean, it would have made at least. Here's the thing, man. Like in all of these Hulk things, he's always trying to hide and always like on the lam and everything, and it's just like, dude, you're so obvious, man. No, everybody knows who you are. This is not a good disguise.
Not to mention, there's still a lot of unanswered questions about whatever happened to Eddie, because, you know, the courtship of Eddie's father, and then Eddie just disappears, and all of a sudden the Hulk shows up.
Think about that. It only makes sense. But so he's going in there and like they're like, well, you're not going to give the presentation. What's wrong with you, fool?
He doesn't want to be on TV, man. He's a wanted man by like one person named Jack McGee or something.
Yeah, and he's a reporter. Like he's not even a cop.
It's not like it's or a mobster or something.
Yeah.
When he's in there,
He's like, I works at the paper.
When he's in there working on this thing that they call the gamma transponder, was it real clear to you guys that the whole idea is he was going to cure himself of being the Hulk?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to go through it about 15 times, but once they kind of made it sort of.
They did that whole like, I've added these extra things, and he's like talking into it, and it will add extra purposes, and he's doing his recording. And
but I'm telling you that I think you still had to use some inference. Like, for the quality of show we're getting here, I'm surprised he didn't dictate right into that tape recorder he had that this will cure me of being the Hulk. He never says that. It kind of surprised me that they didn't make it super clear, because let's be honest, if you're watching this show in 1988, you're probably not waiting on your Mensa application to get back.
Here's the thing, though.
what? This is the second time I've been shocked, and I'm confused. Not waiting for your Mensa application? Come on.
But
he's a genius.
But here's the thing, man. What's it? Bill Bixby, uncreditedly directed this thing.
Yeah, man. He is the force behind all. I say all. There might only be 2, but these Incredible Hulk movies were 100% powered by the power of Bigsby.
But here's the thing.
He executive produced it, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm sure he
took
did.
the credit for that, I think.
But he wants to, he as we've seen throughout these ones that we've watched, man, he's too highfalutin. He thinks what he's making is super art and not just some campy, we painted a man up in green makeup.
That whole scene at the start with Maggie's her first name,
Yeah,
right?
Maggie Shaw.
And he's talking, he wakes up from his nightmare and he's having this like, oh, it's the ocean in the background, and he's like flirting with her and all that, and he's like, oh, and my feminine charms and all that. And I was just sitting there going, what is happening here? You know that he was clearly sitting there going, I'm making him a ladies' man. That's what that was all about.
I watched some French New Wave films. I got ideas.
Man, oh, jeez. Just think of it. Sweden gave us Ingmar Bergman, and we gave them Bill Bixby. So that's how our exchange went there.
It ebbs and it flows, baby. It ebbs and it flows.
Did that opening montage, that dream sequence or whatever you want to call it, did that make any sense to you guys? Because it was just like pure rubbish to me.
It was dumb as crap, but I liked it because it was bizarre and stupid.
Because
I know I'm not supposed to, but I do.
Like, I wondered if it was supposed to remind me of the last episode that was in 1982. I mean, even if you don't take into account that it's currently 2016, if you're watching this live, it's still 6 years since the last episode in a time when Netflix didn't really exist.
What is just like basically Hulk crushing things, flexing, a picture of Maggie flexing, crushing something exploding, Maggie, and he's like, his facial expressions while they have it on, while they're showing him having the dreams are fantastic. It's like, oh, you can just see he's just really struggling to ward off the Hulk in his dreams. It was really amazing acting.
Yeah, and then somehow this Donald Blake guy tracks him down to his laboratory.
The only person in all the world that knows that David Banner's still alive.
That knows that David Banyan is not actually who he says. He's a totally different person, David Banner.
I have above a second grade education and eyeballs. I think I figured this one out.
And then also, this isn't from the comics. This is purely in the TV show. But the whole idea that like Donald Blake and David Banner, Dave and Buster's, I was expecting to show up next, and then Donna Bavroni or something. I just couldn't get over the D's and the B's there. They should have made Maggie Shaw Deborah Bradshaw. That would have worked.
Gotta have the more of the diz and the buzz.
That way you need one set of monogram towels, and everybody can share them.
Oh, it's just you're nothing but a problem solver, and that's what we like about you.
I think the best part about Donald Blake showing up is that all of a sudden, out of the bush, he's in the bushes, and he just pulls out a grappling hook. What? And he somehow breaks. He's like grappling hook, and he somehow breaks into the place with a grappling hook.
Because of course that's what all troublesome medical students are able to do, right?
Of course. Here's the thing, and guys, just to give you an idea, like the guy who plays him, Steve Levitt, he looks like a Tim Burton drawing.
That was going to be my first question, is because clearly he and Tim Burton have the same barber, right?
It is so weird if somebody just gathered some wayward doll hair and then just plopped it on the top of his head and went, fine, move along.
And was it just me, or did it seem like they took a guy who clearly has a 26-inch waist and put a size 42 khaki slacks on the guy to wear all the time? I mean, they look like clown pants on him.
Hey, you know what happens in 1989?
What's that?
MC Hammer, son.
Yeah, parachute pants.
That's right.
This is the inspiration for the Hammer pants.
Oh, we have now
you didn't
cracked
break out
the
the
code.
typewriter for us.
You'd have to wait a year for that.
And then when he shows up, man, how about the way he just grabs Mjolnir and everybody's throwing it around like it's a Nerf gun? What happened to the idea that nobody could lift Mjolnir?
I thought, the first one, so he's going on his big, Norse vacation, spelunking. And here's the thing, man. I'll say this. This is a family-friendly show. But did anyone else think of anything while he was going into the cave? The design on the cave was interesting.
Are you saying it was maternal, perhaps?
Yes. Yes, I am. Because I look at that and I'm just like, all you got to do is show us a thing of like a train going inside of a mountain or something. But no, it's basically...
It's made to resemble the first cave we ever exited.
That's true. And I'm like, are we getting away with this on nationwide television? Is no one going to talk about how this dude is going in there? And
he gives a little setup. He says he agreed to be a team doctor on a trip to Norway. So I thought he's going to be like the doctor on a hockey team or something. And then he says, it was an archaeological team. Does anybody ever call the doctor for an archaeological team the team doctor? Or is he just a doctor on an expedition?
Yeah. You know what? The thing that got me too is he just goes you remember, I always loved Vikings. You remember that, right, Dave?
You remember this Viking crap I like.
I haven't seen you in years, but I remember that you always loved Vikings.
You remember that class at Harvard 8 years ago with 200 students? I was the Viking guy.
It was so, and he's just like, and Banner's like, oh yeah,
Blake.
yeah.
We talk about
Donald
you all the
Blake.
time at all of our college reunions. We go, what? There, that weird cracker that came over and just said, "Hey guys, check out Thor." We hated that guy. That was you, huh?
And then he tells the story about Thor. He tells the whole expedition story, but then he tells he tells David that he can make Thor do anything he wants as long as it's legal.
As long as it's legal.
And
Jaywalk, no.
Does Thor brush up every month on his local city ordinances and stuff?
He just walks around with this like guidebooks.
He can only go so far. It's just like it's illegal to spit on the sidewalk in Canada. Get out of here, you bunk.
But alas, I cannot drive with my windshield wipers on and the headlights off.
I mean, it's terrible. I don't know what says no right turns on Sunday. I don't.
The speed limit doth say 65. We shall not go 70.
These are good Thor impressions. But it's so dumb. And here's the thing. So, like, for those of you who don't know, like Bruce had kind of said, Donald Blake is the Thor, man. It's the same dude. Why do we need two dudes? Because when he first picked up the hammer, I was just like, okay, what? Oh, well, okay. Well, this probably makes sense that way. How they're, and then he'll just turn into Thor, and then Thor just appears.
Well, the way he was explaining it, you kind of feel like he's like, and he's just there, and he talks more than I do, and you're like thinking like, that it's kind of like they're sharing the same brain, like but his body comes out. Yeah, exactly.
Firestorm style.
That's what I figured. Yeah. That I felt like they're going with, and then they completely don't. He just shows up like flexing out of a bolt of lightning, and it's, I don't know. And then also, another thing they did that they do really quickly is Blake goes, hey, reach in my bag. And so Banner just opens the bag. He's like, oh, look, it's a hammer. And he just picks it up and he hands it over to him.
Mjolnir's no big deal to lift in this mythos.
Yeah, like Banner is holding it at this point, and you're just like, well, that's all ruined.
And, obviously I would have liked it a lot better if it was the whole transformation thing, but maybe they were worried that was too much like David Banner and Lou Ferrigno. Like Bill Bixby did direct this, executive produce it. Only one person gets to take off half the scenes, and that's Bill Bixby.
I see him chomping on a cigar going, there's no way he's getting out of this. I'm not going to be the only transformating fool on this show.
And if this really was the plan for a backdoor pilot, I think they were going for kind of a slight comedy buddy cop kind of vibe to it. So they wanted the two odd couple to be around instead of taking turns.
What would make you say that, Bruce, with the 20 minutes that we spend buddy copping it around with him and Donald Blake? What a load of junk that was, man.
Well, before we even get to that, how about Thor shows up, man? And this is our first introduction to Thor. And all that we know is he thinks that beer can be found inside of computer panels. Isn't that pretty much what happens?
Yeah, he just walks over to the big panel and just like rips up, where's the beer? I need something to drink. And he's just like ripping stuff apart, and then he wants to fight. Like,
now, I've never been to Asgard, but what do refrigerators look like in Asgard? Maybe they look like computer panels.
That's what I'm saying. You can make that thing like, oh, he's just going to what he thinks is the fridge. They don't have fridges in Asgard, man.
Fridges, because he's not even, in the way that they've set up, he's not even like the Thor we know. He's not the god of thunder. He's just some Viking that was, cursed by Odin not to be able to like go to Valhalla. So he's like buried at the top of a mountain in a stone crate.
Yeah, and also, what's up with Donald Blake screaming Odin to bring Thor? That doesn't make any sense to me either, man.
That's his flame on.
Yeah, but why not by the power of Grayskull? Because you're thinking it. Man, this was a very He-Man influenced
by the power of Odin
show.
There you go, man. Come on.
Well, they could have said like, for he who is worthy may possess the power of Thor or something like that. Not just like Odin. Oh, okay. Lightning bolts. Okay, perfect.
I'm here to serve you, just as long as you don't ask me to cross that street when the light is red.
And the hammer really looks like like those mini sledgehammers you can go to Home Depot and buy.
And that is probably where Corman got it.
Well, they did put 4 little circles on the top for some reason. I don't know. They're like, this is decoration. I don't know. Whatever.
And they used a little bit of special effects of a lightning around the hammer when they call Thor down, but they never once had like Thor calling the lightning down on the bad guys, and that disappointed me.
Yeah, so he just kind of came down and he was just a punchy punch. That's it.
What'd you think about that racquetball scene?
I loved it. Is the answer? I believe this is like I'm thinking like this is like what you call it there, Wall Street, a little bit of Oliver Stone action going on or something.
Because when it happened, I realized I didn't know who either one of these characters were, and I don't know the rules to racquetball, so I really couldn't get much out of the scene.
I believe it was squash, and it wasn't racquetball.
Oh, was it squash?
I have no idea.
Here's the thing, man. It's all the same crap. Yous out there that are just going, no, I play squash. I don't play racquetball. Racquetball's for losers. It's all racquetball. Shut your face.
I like to play team handball.
That's the same thing too.
I'm a big highlight guy. I like highlight.
All of those sports, all the same thing. Every one of them.
My horse drowned playing water polo. Okay. So in this racquetball scene, I don't know who either one of these characters are, but I do know what the gamma transponder is, thank goodness. So I can still get something out of the scene. Apparently, these two guys are going to steal the transponder, and they also want to kidnap David Banner, I guess, because he needs to power the transponder or something like that. Like, he's the only one who knows how to operate it.
Yeah, because he created and operated, so they decide, like, it's not good enough to have this machine. We have to have the guy to push the button, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand, because it's already built. They just walk up and hit a button, I would assume, and like it starts.
And when Tim Thomerson, the guy that plays LeBeau, is playing racquetball there with the little brother, whatever his name is, Zach Lambert. Zach Lambert sounds like a country singer. But anyway, when he's playing racquetball with him and his hair's all sweaty and hanging over his face, the first thing I thought was that Tim Thomerson kind of looks like a skinny Dolph Lundgren.
No, that's not bad. I like that.
Yeah, that craggy face and the sweaty hair.
Yeah, except for the fact that he's a very convincing Cajun.
He's not as convincing as his brother Charles Napier will be when he shows up.
Very convincing.
Yeah. Oh man, I love the guy that's trying to split the difference between Dolph Lundgren and Jerry Reed, the Fouché, the sidekick to LeBeau, which they could almost pass as brothers, except they're. I don't know, man. You can't tell which one's older. It depends on the light.
That's the problem. You got like 3 or 4 cats that all look exactly alike. And they're just like, because like it feels like everybody came in for one part, and they were just like, gosh, they're all so good. Let's just put them in all the roles, man.
Let's just keep making roles for them. We'll just keep coming up with new things.
And Jack McGee, the newspaper reporter, comes into the picture right about here, too. And all I can think, man, he's had a hard 6 years between 1982 and 1988, because I used to kind of like the character of Jack McGee, I guess, but now he kind of looks like a surlier Jason Robards here. He looks really old in this movie.
And he really plays absolutely. There's no point to him in the entire movie. Like zero. Like, why is he there? Just because he was in the TV show. That's the only reason he's there, because he plays literally no point in the entire movie.
His point's to give David Banner a reason to leave town at the end.
Like becoming the Hulk and smashing everything up, and everybody seeing him wasn't enough. It's the newspaper reporter that goes, "Oh,
shouldn't you be walking? Get to walking."
And I guess it's time to talk about the high point of this movie here, guys.
There's a high point.
There's a high point.
Yeah, what? When Thor and Blake go to the bar.
Oh,
this would be your.
That's the high point.
Yeah, like if there was they sat back and they were like, man, we need to make this Hulk movie, man. It's gonna be no, this is bigger than a single episode. This is gonna be an hour and 40 minutes long, man. We really gotta, yeah, that's right, that's the word, yeah, strain the crap out of it. Because we're just gonna extend this on here. We're gonna have a montage scene. We can shoot a lot of stuff. And hey, here's the thing, man. We'll do it all at a bar. We can get drunk, super, that night and everything, and shoot this. Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And then they did that for 4 weeks straight.
And they do that, and he apparently Vikings dance like the Russians used to do, like kicking their legs up.
Where do you think the Russians learned it, man?
Yeah, well, clearly the Vikings.
But also, something else. They go into a biker bar, clearly a biker bar, and that's where I think if you yell, "Hey Thor," at least 7 people will turn around, because isn't that like a mainstay nickname for bikers is Thor? It's right there with I don't know, Gut Belly or something.
The one thing that completely distracted me in that whole scene, that whole set of scenes, is there's one guy, like every time they were showing him dancing with the girls, there's like one guy that's completely out of place in the biker bar, and he's just like doing this like 90s white guy dance.
Oh, he's doing a little like Wham! Wake me up before you go.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got like the Wham haircut, and he's just
in the biker bar.
And he's in the biker bar. I'm like, why is that guy here? Like, he would be getting his face filled in right now. He wouldn't be dancing.
What's up, guys? I'm hearing a dare tonight.
Oh, wake me up before you Thor. So I don't know if it was just me, but man, did you guys not expect when Thor gets punched for this to erupt in a very cliche 80s bar brawl? And were you guys disappointed when it didn't? Like, I wanted to see bikers getting thrown through windows for the next 7 minutes, and it's like there's one punch and everybody goes back to dancing and everybody forgets a fight broke out.
You seen that lightning earlier in this? They only got so much budget.
How much budget does it take to throw a crappy actor out a paper window?
They had to wait for the glass window later in the whole movie. They're like, look, you can either have one or two of these. You either have one or none.
The other part about that's really like it's a perfectly placed punch on that guy because Donald Blake's just minding his business over in the corner,
and he misses him.
And some girl comes up and starts talking to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, there's a girl here," and he's like, "Oh," and he's like crunching in together, and he's like trying to like sip his beer and not pretend the girl's there, and then the guy clearly the boyfriend who looks like he's supposed to be like a gang member and his two pals like show up and they're like grabbing him by the shirt and he's like, "Oh no, don't hit me."
But
and then
that guy looks like a less tough Jason Bateman.
Yes. And then Thor one punches the guy with the little mustache and he flies in and wipes them all out. And he just kind of goes, "Meh," he just like raises his hands like,
friends now. Do over,
and he just smiles and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh," and then that's it. That's the end of the fight.
But here's the thing, isn't that the most like accurate thing of what dudes do though? We will go through and if a chick badmouths another chick, they may hate each other for the rest of their lives. But guys, we could literally start punching each other in the face and then 5 minutes later go, we're the coolest buddies ever.
I'm gonna go on record.
We're that
right
dumb.
Now. If a Viking ever punches me in a bar, I will not be his friend.
Yes, you will. You can't help it. It's part of your DNA.
Oh, he does have some snazzy shoulder gear.
I would say, though, I know that might have been your high point of the movie. My high point was when Thor first shows up and him and Hulk have a fight, which is really like each of them hitting each other like twice, and then Thor goes out the one window they were allowed to break in the movie, and then they just disappear. Like, they just run away.
And not to mention, like, before they actually start fighting, they have a classic 1980s pose down. Like, there's some real, like, bodybuilder posing going on instead of actual fighting. It was a nice throwback to the WWF of the era.
All Luke Ferrigno ever does as an actor is just flex his muscles. Yeah. That is his going, acting!
Did you know that Luke Ferrigno doesn't even do his own roars?
That's true. That's like, no,
you mean their sound effects?
Do you know who does the roars?
The one of the bad guys.
Napier, Charles Napier,
yeah,
the
man.
guy that played Fouché or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
That's the guy that does the roars. It used to be Lurch, and then Lurch died.
You can only go so far in one's life.
But how bad is it you can't even go, "Ooh"?
Well, the crazy part is I was reading it. This was the first time that they changed Ferrigno's wig, which has always been bad, but it's like even worse now. Like when they're doing these movies, it's like it's just so awful. But they like made it bigger or something because he's got like the hearing aid thing or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so back in the late 80s and stuff, they weren't super small or nothing. So he had to they kind of had that stuff. And I'm thinking, how much does he really have to hear in the direction for this? All he's doing is posing.
Yeah, they could just look at him and go like,
point him in a direction and says like, "Hey, watch all around here, pose as many different times as you can. We'll come get you when we're done."
But just imagine they're filming a scene outdoors. The Goodyear blimp goes by. Somebody says, "Hey, look, there's a blimp." If Lou doesn't hear it and doesn't see the blimp, he's going to be sad all day.
Who told me there was a blimp there today?
Speaking of his wig, I always wish that it was the old, like the original Hulk comic wig, like it just like a little bit of hair stuck on top of his head, because only when the Hulk becomes the Hulk, of course his hair doesn't grow, so it's a regular sized guy's hair sitting on top of the head.
See, I wish he would just go full on Tina Turner wig.
Dude, it's pretty close to that as it is.
The Thunderdome video. Yeah.
It's not far from that right now. And here's what we also have to talk about. This is clearly now, while I think this is probably one of the buffer times we've seen Ferrigno in this Hulk and everything.
He looks good, man.
He does look good. But man, oh man, it is the off season because I don't remember him being this hairy in the other movies and stuff.
You don't remember Ferrigno being hairy?
I could be. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's my first time remembering.
Bodybuilders perpetually shave themselves, but I bet in 82 he was probably still competing. By 88 he wasn't, so he lets the back hair grow.
That's my guess, man, because I'm looking he's just sprouting all over the place here, and I'm just like, boy, he's awful hairy, isn't he? It just seemed really weird, and it's funny because we'd go on to a later Hulk movie that we reviewed on this show where he has a beard as Banner, goes to the Hulk, no beard.
Yeah, that's
so
true, man.
I don't know how hair works in the inverse in this world. I can't figure it out, man.
Now another high point of the show. I got to point it out, man. Another high point of the show is when Jack McGee goes up to David Banyan's apartment and Thor answers the door. You guys had to admit that was fun, right?
Well, that was fun, but I think the whole part before that, where Thor comes down from the shower and he just is like sitting around like doing like 80s like glamour shot poses up against like the fridge.
That's a little thank you to Mom for letting the kids watch the show.
Yeah, like I don't know what I kept watching that going. What is all these poses? Why is he posing in the background? And then he's like grabs the beer and he like takes a knife and like stabs
it into a pitcher and drinks straight from the pitcher.
And he's just like, why is he like nobody stands like this, with their hand up to their ear, like up against the wall.
I'm just relaxing.
Apparently you haven't seen me prepare for work in the morning.
Clearly not.
And then I like it though. David McGee shows up and they send Thor out to claim he's David Banyan. And I like it because McGee goes, "I'm looking for a man. Why, I am a man."
Oh, that was just like the why won't you let me love you moment of this, where he's just like, "You found one. He's right here. Hey, hello, come here."
No, I'm looking for a particular man. I am a very particular
I'm
man.
as particular as they come, baby. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. And he's just trying to hone in there, man.
And he's still in his towel. Like he didn't even put on any pants.
Oh, and I love his just awful wig. And like, because here's the thing,
Are
man.
you sure that's a wig? It looked natural to me.
Are you kidding? That did not look like it came off an animal, much less a human.
What?
That hair was
that was a yak hair wig.
Listen, if that was a yak from another dimension. Because I swear to you, that was not natural. That was something that science created.
As bad as you might think the wig was, it was still better than the helmet.
The helmet was terrible.
Well,
terrible.
Look, I'll take the helmet over the hair. He looked terrible in it.
I feel like the helmet didn't have enough wings on it, and it had too much sideburn protector. Like they needed to shrink the sideburn protector and increase the wings.
Or just flip them. Let's just spin it. All they had to do is take that and spin it.
It also looked like they made a helmet 3 sizes too big for some reason. And I'm going to say this. Eric Kramer doesn't look like he has a small head, so they must have made a really big helmet.
Yeah, they made a really big helmet, and then they put the football shoulder pads on him and throw a little bit of fur on top and everything. So
leather pants.
He looks like, I don't know why the leather pants. And I love how there was a scene where he's getting into a cab, and they clearly went through and redid some audio, just did some post-production audio of Thor basically throwing in jokes.
Oh, really?
As he's getting into the back of the cab. I forget what they were.
I don't remember the joke, man. Maybe you saw the director's cut.
It wasn't super funny, so you probably...
The director's cut.
Maybe I didn't recognize it as a joke. That might be the problem.
You probably heard it, but it wasn't, because it wasn't funny. That's why you didn't laugh. But it was just kind of like, hey, I don't even know why we're getting into this cab kind of thing. It wasn't that, but it was something of that ilk. But it was terrible.
Would you guys think of the big helicopter kidnapping scene?
First of all, I loved it because it was just stupid. And here's the thing. So, there's a point in this where, Hulk is on one rudder, Thor is on the other. And they're filming this thing not 2 feet off the ground, right? Just enough for these guys to hang. They
still have a stunt double for Lou Ferrigno.
They still have a stunt double because that guy has, while he's somewhat muscular, he's also
got
plumper.
my belly, man. Yeah. Let's just put it out there.
He's a plumper gentleman, no doubt. Because Lou Ferrigno's in some of the better shape that he's ever been in for these whole things.
How tall would you say Lou Ferrigno is? You've met the man. How tall would you say?
He's like 6 even.
6 even? I thought he might be taller than that because this guy's like 5'7", the stunt double.
The stunt double was Danny DeVito.
It might have been an uncredited Kenny Baker appearance, keeping with the theme.
He was just this chubby guy, kind of up there, and it's a far back shot, but it's not so far back that you just don't notice it immediately.
Yeah, it's very, very clear that it's not him.
And a quick cut into him, laying back on the ground, making it look like he fell.
And if they'd hired me to be the stunt double, I could have brought my own Hulk pants. So I wish Roger Corman had called me up.
Well, the thing that I found ridiculous about the whole chopper scene is that like the chopper flies around the first time, the guy is like hanging out of it with his gun, and then it flies around and they're just supposed, like Bruce and or David and Maggie are just sitting there and they're like, what's this all about? I mean, there's a guy flying around in a copper.
Yeah, there's
and a chopper with a gun.
There's a guy in a helicopter with a rifle. Let's go out on the porch and get a closer look.
Yeah, they don't do anything.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, what's this about? Is this for the news? Go back inside. Why? That gun in your hand?
There was a brief moment, Thor grabs Hulk and he says, let's go get him, and like points Mjolnir at the helicopter. And I thought for just a minute, is he going to try to fly here? Like, are they really going to give us Roger Corman, Thor in flight? Because that would have been priceless, man.
Well, but what I thought is he was going to throw the hammer, because we know the hammer comes back.
Well, I really wanted to see him do the old spinaroo with the hammer, that make his own helicopter propeller with the hammer
and then right through it. Yeah,
like this is the perfect chance to throw the hammer up and it just blow up the helicopter. But no, that didn't happen.
that would involve your reading the Thor book.
I thought he would act like he was going to fly with the hammer, and then we would just see a scene of the production company shooting like a mannequin out of a catapult.
It's like with its arms like flopping.
Kind of like when somebody falls out of a window on Family Matters, that kind of look.
There is a weird thing. Now, I don't know, like, they must have done a different stunt double for when Hulk jumped off of the roof thing.
Yeah.
Earlier in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because that looked pretty good.
I think they just put an inflatable mattress down there and had Lou do that one.
Why couldn't he do the one where he's a foot off the ground for the helicopter, though?
Well, the noise from the helicopter really hurts his ears with the hearing aids and all.
They probably, well, you know what? I was going to say something bad. I was going to say he probably didn't have his hearing aids in. They were just like, they pointed, and so he just walked off the side of the building.
Oh, man.
That way, you got it. Splat. Did you tell me you were going to do that?
Ad-lib.
No.
It was pure ad lib. He just really had to go to the bathroom badly. Didn't have time to take the stairs.
I'd like to see a little Wile E. Coyote action where his wig just stays up in the air for half a second. And he has to like snatch it back down and hold it on his head as he's falling. It's terrible. Oh, I swear to you, dude. There was this one point in there. I'm fairly certain that like I saw like just Lou Ferrigno's regular skin in his underarm. Like they missed a spot of makeup.
Well, man, that green paint can only stay on so long.
I forget they're in there. I'm just like, oh, I see some little regular flesh color there, buddy boy.
They applied it first day of shooting, and he wasn't allowed to shower the whole time.
I wouldn't be shocked with it coming from Corman.
Like I just the whole every time he turned into the Hulk, like I've never seen like him do less as the Hulk though. Like he has two poses. He has the the Hulk Hogan up over the top pose,
and
then
the biceps and the shoulders,
and then the those two poses, and then he doesn't do anything else. Like that's the only thing he does and that's his fight scene. Like
hey, he screams too.
And I miss the day when the way to really make people more interested in a fight scene was to show it in slow motion, because all of Hulk's fight scenes are usually slow motion.
They were just like, wait a minute, we have to shoot for how long? $140? Yowzer. Now, okay, 3/4 of this film is going to be shot in slow motion with a weird shutter angle. That's just how we're doing it from this point out. I don't give a crap.
Now, were you guys taken aback or surprised when at the final warehouse fight, which is how all this kind of stuff always ends, but at the final warehouse fight, Donald Blake picks up a machine gun and straight up starts murdering people?
Yeah, he does. Like
he seems way more effective than Hulk or Thor once he gets his machine gun.
Well, and the look on his face too, he's like, I'm not sure how to work this, and then he just starts gunning people down. And
I'm pretty sure he shot one guy in the Baby Maker, man.
Yeah, he did.
That's what it looked like.
But the whole part of the thing that I found, another thing I found really funny about that scene was, Banner finds out where Maggie is held from Zach, who for some reason they decided to shoot. They decided to shoot him,
and that made Joshua mad.
But he's in the hospital and he's talking and he tells Banner everything, and everything seems okay. And then like they're at the warehouse, and then he just shows up and he's like, they killed Zach. And you're like, he was just talking like 3 minutes ago. What happened to him?
Yeah. He died off screen.
Yeah. And it was just like, but he didn't even look like he had a bullet hole. He was just
bruised up. I think they shot him in the bowels.
I don't know where they shot him, but
it was a slow bleed.
I don't know. He was in the best shape of a guy that dies less than 2 minutes later than any other person. Not that I hang around with people that are going to die within 2 minutes, but still, like, he didn't look bad at all, and then all of a sudden he's dead.
But they really stepped up the violence in this final fight scene, because you've got Donald Blake shooting people with the machine gun. Then you've got Thor hitting some guy like right in the abdomen with Mjolnir, which he's able to knock a car over with Mjolnir like a little bit later on in this same sequence. So that's going to kill somebody. That's equivalent to being hit by a car. And then Hulk takes like this big metal I-beam and starts playing T-ball with guys, man. Like, there's serious death and destruction going on in this final fight scene.
There's bad editing too, because when he goes and he grabs that I-beam and he like whacks the one guy, and there's like two guys beside him, and then all of a sudden it cuts to them getting baseball batted with the I-beam, but they're in completely different positions and they're staring off into space. And all of a sudden, like, if I just watch my buddy here get nailed with an I-beam by a giant green guy, I'm not going to stand there, stare off into space and wait to get baseball batted.
And not to mention, he swings that baseball bat at about the speed of your average escalator. Like, it's not really flying at you. I think they had plenty of time to get out of the way.
It's like that scene in Austin Powers, right? Where the steamroller's coming and he's like, and it's like going super slow.
Yeah.
This is just amateur hour to the nth degree, man. They're just like, hey, we got people who direct television. Oh, that's perfect. Let's just bring them in here. Have they ever done action before? No, doesn't matter. Bring them in.
They guest directed an episode of St. Elsewhere.
Well,
let's bring that person.
Learning on the job, fool. Get in here. Let's do this. Guess what? You're stunt choreographer now.
But
you have 5 minutes.
They do have that really, really nice denouement with Thor jogging on the beach in leather pants. Next time I go to the beach, that's what I'm taking for my bathing suit.
And he's just frolicking
Donald
around.
Blake is like riding a stationary bike in like his grandmother's sweat, and like
in a cardigan in those same khaki pants that we've already established are 12 to 14 sizes too big.
And it's like, why are you riding a stationary bike? Like, I don't understand. Oh,
the 80s, man. The 80s and fitness, and
Thor meets that one chick from that one music video. Either Van Halen or Whitesnake or something like that.
No, they wish like the B grade version of that.
Yeah.
But here's between Blake
what was
and
the poor
Thor,
man's Whitesnake? Rat. She was from a Rat video.
From a Rat video. But she was like, no, so like everybody's clothes are just terrible in this. Thor's entire outfit choice, no matter what it is, and there's like 4 of them, they're all just awful. Like, how are you wearing like just like a zip up hoodie or something?
It looks exactly. It's even got the little pockets on it, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Vikings didn't have that little muffler pocket in front.
Now if you,
of course they did. Yes.
Now, if you had him like just kind of a bigger dude named Donald Blake who wore that stuff before, like while he was not turned into Thor, perfect. But no, we just decided to dress up Thor just like some big schmuck that hangs out at a beach house. It's awful.
Oh, man. I'll be honest with you. I would be ashamed to wear a 100% accurate cosplay of that anywhere, because people would feel sorry for the bad job I did.
Well, that's it. Like, right? Like, if you walked in and wearing his like Thor, the actual Thor outfit with the helmet and everything, people would be like, yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't get what this is. Like,
they look at it and they just go like, "Oh, a crummy Thor."
On this is pretty poor.
I mean, and we're not talking about a great duplication. We're saying we went to NBC Studios and got the actual costume and wore it.
And be like, God bless him, he's trying. Look at him. Well, I mean, I guess that's Thor if you want to, but if you came in Thor in like an Umbro jersey or whatever he's doing in this thing. Sure.
He had the nice little braids in his wig, too. I could do that.
Sometimes he did. Sometimes he had them, and other times he didn't.
Sometimes it's like a little wet just there on the tips of the hair, but the coif at the top, because you had to like sew that into his skull, couldn't get wet.
Just whichever wig he got to first.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few times where all of a sudden, he's got those braids, and other times just and it can be, and it was scene to scene too, because like one minute he doesn't have it, then it goes back to him and like, oh, now he's got braids. Okay, well, fair enough.
Look, I'm just trying to look like Bo Derek, okay?
And the only thing I could think about in this whole denouement, this whole epilogue here, is how much money do they pay Maggie Shaw? Because that is a nice beachfront house in Los Angeles. That thing's got to set you back a pretty penny.
And Banner's always wearing cardigans and sweaters.
Man, he's wearing the exact same members-only jacket he had in 1982. I'm telling you, man, that has to be the same wardrobe.
Because it's all part of the character, Bruce.
Like I don't know. Like I can't. We're in West Virginia. I can't wear a sweater in the winter. How is he on the beach in California wearing like I don't know. Mr. Rogers outfit?
Yeah, and also it's 1988, man. Give him a Cosby sweater. Make him hip.
You guys,
a Cosby sweater and then some parachute pants.
You guys just don't know anything about character. Bill Bixby looks down upon you and snarls in disgust.
Well, I think I'm all out of comments on that.
How dare you? Well, before we wrap this thing up and get to our official Robin ratings, we have to sit back and find out how this movie, made for television, relates to our good friend Sylvester Stallone. And I have a prepared statement.
Oh, really?
I won't lie to you, H.M. Pierce. Going into this week, man, old Adam was scared. You see, Sean has been gone for several weeks now, and we are one less awesome dude on this show. And for all my silly third-grade education reading Keister has been up to is just, it's not been going well, you know? So, by going into this thing, I thought, man, this guy really does all the work. This guy has put his bit in week after week and been consistently great. And this is no easy task. You look at a movie, take The Return of the Incredible Hulk, for example. You sit back and look at this bad boy and think, man, I hope something is related to Sylvester Stallone in some way that's fairly simple to pull off, but I know I can't be that lucky. And then I watched the movie and bam, there it was. This job is, it's crappy. It's not that tough, Sean. Come on. Because whose face alone could have struck this sort of chord with me? Why, none other than this week's Stallone connection, Charles Napier, who in this week's movie plays Mike Ferroci, or the guy that I'm just going to call Gangster. Forche, sure. I'm just going to call him Gangster number 3 in charge, because that's who he is. Now, Charles Napier's name might not ring a bell with you, H.M. Pierce, but let me tell you, when you see his face, all the bells and buzzers are going off. That's right, Charles Napier's a character actor. That awesome breed of just as talented as the top brass, but not pretty enough to, join in on the big names, that kind of guy. So if you're a cop or a bum or a biker or a lumberjack, you could be a character actor. Or if you're a greaseball, a fat dude, or insert stereotypical name from a random country that's mean, that you still kind of really mean, well, that's a character actor. Now, in one of his 202 acting gigs, Charles Napier played Mike Forche, whose job it was to look tough next to Tim Thomerson and to make him look tougher by association. We all know he's not a better actor than you, Charles, but he is a bit prettier. But you came in there and you showed those so-and-sos that they had no clue what they were talking about, and boy, I did not write this well.
Yeah, you're struggling, man.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, where was I going with this? But let me tell you guys, these actors, they basically look the exact same.
Yes, that's where you're going with it.
Way back in 1985, way back in 1985, Charles Napier co-starred as Marshall Murdoch in the seminal work Rambo: First Blood Part 2, also starring America's Cure for What Ails Ya, Sylvester Stallone.
Solid pull.
Now, you seen Rambo: First Blood Part 2, have you? It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I also feel that it's a shame that it brings along the First Blood Part 2 title, because it just sullies the work done by the name inclusion, and because as we've seen thus far, far superior than the first movie. Rambo: First Blood Part 2, you'll always be just Rambo to me. So there you have it, H.M. Pierce. Now Goldilocks and the Incredible Bulk, let's rate this bad boy so we can go back and, I don't know, sleep.
Where I come from, we call it Second Blood.
Second Blood. it really is one of the worst names. Rambo: First Blood Part 2. It's just like whenever they just go, no, seriously though, this is the final chapter.
It's right up there with Return of the Evil Dead Part 2 or Return of the Living Dead Part 2, something like that.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, come on now. This is just so terrible. So let's get down to it, boys. Here on HMP, we don't have stars, we don't have numbers and stuff. We have the patented Robin rating system. Bruce, let's start with you. What is your Robin rating for The Incredible Hulk Returns?
Well, I did think Thor was fun. It might be more of a laugh at you than laugh with you kind of fun, but I thought Thor was fun, but not fun enough to save the movie. I think this movie's less enjoyable for me than the trial of the Incredible Hulk was, and let's be honest, that didn't exactly knock my socks off. But I will go on record as saying I like Bill Bixby's Dr. Banner better than Ed Norton's, but still, there are just too many missed opportunities in this movie for me to be able to recommend it. So I'm going to give it a Jason Todd.
Wow. All right. Sounded like we weren't going there, but very impressive. Chubby Wizards, Chris Elvin, where does this movie fall in the Robin rating system for you, sir?
Well, it's not a Dick Grayson.
What? That doesn't make that. This just does not compute.
Yeah. No. Yeah, a lot of Thor was kind of funny, and I'm a Thor, and as a huge Thor fan, anytime you get any kind of Thor, I'm kind of get excited. Then you find out this wasn't Thor; it was just some guy in a wig that held a hammer from Home Depot, and with some sheepskin that he got at the Hobby Lobby. I don't know. It's so bad. There's
let it
no
go.
redeemable qualities of this. Is there like a Robin that's worse than Red Robin? What's the worst Robin you could find?
Oh,
is there some Robin that showed up once?
I think Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell is the worst.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I was going straight down the comic book, but yes, I forgot about Chris O'Donnell.
The very seldomly used Chris O'Donnell. That's a special. That's like a special one you bring out on the holidays.
And then you can also go Sweet Robin from Game of Thrones if you really want to.
That's that fine china you bring out every now and then when company's over. The Dick Graysons. Oh my goodness.
How about you, Adam? What do you think of this movie?
Oh, this is a Jason Todd all day long, man. This movie is just garbage. I swear to you, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and I'm like, this has got to go somewhere. There's always a couple of seconds where you're just like, okay, things are starting to kick in. Here we go. This is where the story, and we've petered off again. Okay, all right, here we go. Here's some stuff I can kind of relate to, and we're down again. Crap. It just it's a wave of disappointment after another. The second you think they're going to start doing some comic booky stuff, this feels like David Goyer modeled his career around this. It's like, I'll take some of the crap that's something, and I'll throw it in there. We'll call it Blake. Who cares? Whatever. We'll just move on from there.
And wouldn't the movie have been better if he cured himself in the beginning and then he had to consciously turn himself back into the Hulk on purpose to save something?
Hello. It seemed
like way better.
It seemed like that's what they were going to do, and that also at the same time, that way you can save money on having to have Ferrigno in there. You get to feature Thor more because that's what you're wanting to spin off and everything, and then you have him come back and do that. Come on, man. It's pretty flippin' obvious.
Yeah.
I still, the one thing I think would have made this movie better is if they didn't put Ferrigno in it and they just painted Bill Bixby green.
That would have been good.
I think they would have done that. Then it would have been like, okay, that would have been about as good a rating as you can get.
I think Hulk would have really smashed after that one. Lou Ferrigno would have came in and just decimated the entire. You show me, man. I'll show you Roger Corman, and then he just throws him through a plate glass window. He knows better. All right, so that is it, everybody. Next week we're going back to some staples and stuff, man. We gotta, you can have some candy and sometimes things that aren't good for you, like Thor, like this Thor movie, sort of. But sometimes you gotta go back to the old classics, man. And we're gonna go back next week to the movie that started off this amazing Marvel movie universe that we love so much. We're gonna be reviewing the first Iron Man, directed by Jon Favreau, starring some guy who was in a bunch of indie movies when he was a kid. Beats the heck out of me.
I think his name is Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Yes, there we go. Thank you. So next week we're going to be talking about Iron Man. But here's the thing, guys. There's so much that we do. There's so many other things. The show doesn't have to stop here. Like, for example, if you followed our friend Chris Elvins here, he could tell you where else you could find some of his work on the internet this week.
Yeah, you can always just head on over to chubbywizard.com and you can hear our weekly ramblings on all your new comic book news and your movie news. And we love to spoil things. So if you like to have all your movies and TV shows spoiled, please listen to our show because that's what we enjoy doing most because we're just giant party poopers like that. We just like to ruin your time.
Here's the thing. I say even listen to it because, like, if you have a passing interest in these things and, like, you're like, well, I don't read a book every single month and stuff, but maybe you kind of want to keep abreast of things that are going on in the comics world, man, it's not a bad show. Check it out. Just give it a shot.
There you go, people.
I love that recommendation. It's not a bad show.
It
could have been like, it's really terrible. I prefer it. But if you have nothing else better to do, then you can kind of listen to it, right?
If you're locked in some sort of an internment camp and they let you pick what you don't want to listen to, you could do worse.
If you've got 1 hour to live, listen to this show and it'll make it seem way longer than that.
It'll go on forever. Please, I would like the sweet relief of death to have to listen. I believe I've suffered enough, and this does not fall in the Geneva Convention. You people are monsters. Dear Lord, kill me now.
So that's what you can get by listening to our
Chubby
show.
Wizard,
right?
everybody. Bruce, what else?
Heroes and Villains. I've got a Flash Gordon episode I'm going to be throwing up the day before this episode goes up. And then I think I just did Deadshot. Yeah, I think Deadshot's out there too if people are interested. So Heroes and Villains, you can find it on iTunes and Google Play and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so you're doing Flash. You see what I did there? Huh?
I did.
Not too shabby. That is it, everybody. Again, Chris Elvins, thanks for stopping by, buddy. We really appreciate it, man.
Oh, you are very welcome.
Coming in on that third heat and everything. We appreciate it. Yeah. So that is it, everybody. Remember, drop us an email, heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. Drop on over down there to the Patreon. Drop us a couple shekels your way. Patreon, folks, we got some ideas. Brucey, I've been talking off there. We got some good things for you, man.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for all that kind of good stuff. And that is it. Until next week when we talk Iron Man, for Bruce Leslie, that Chris Elvins guy over there, and the absent Sean Keenan, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.